Hey guys, you're watching Car Topic, and today we're going to be looking at the ultimate beginner's supercar, the Audi R8. So let's jump right into it. Before 2008, Audi was essentially a poor man's BMW. If you couldn't buy a BMW, you'd go for an Audi. Now, this hurt Audi's reputation in many ways, resulting in a downward slope of sales for the past few years. Before 2008. But once 2008 hit, Audi released the all-new Audi R8. This car was made to be a halo car for Audi and give status to the company name. And even though it was only launched with a V8, it was an instant hit and it did exactly what Audi hoped it would. Now, not only did people want the Audi R8, but they also wanted many of the other sporty cars provided by Audi, like the Audi S5 or even the Audi TT. The original R8 was offered with just over 420 horsepower in an automatic or a manual. But the main reason why sales soared for Audi was not because of its power, but because of its looks. The Audi R8 was one of the very first cars to feature LED headlights, and it was also one of the lowest priced cars where you can see your engine through glass. Speaking of its low price point, the original R8 started at $116,000, with a fully spec'd one being around $135,000. This was unheard of as far as supercars go. Gone were the days where you had to spend over $200,000 to get a base level Gallardo. Now, thanks to the R8, you can get yourself into a supercar at unheard of prices. And speaking of the Gallardo, in 2010, the Audi R8 got an upgrade so that you can option it with a V10 motor. In fact, the same motor as the Lamborghini Gallardo. While this did bump up the price a bit for the V10 options, it was still drastically cheaper than a Gallardo, and just gave supercar owners another reason to get the Audi R8. So if you think the original R8 wasn't a supercar due to its low horsepower, think again, because the V10 made over 525 horsepower. And did I mention that all R8s were all-wheel drive? Yes, that's right, every single R8 was all-wheel drive, giving it more power to the ground and more options than other cars, as other supercars at the time were mostly rear-wheel drive, and if they were all-wheel drive, it would be an expensive option. Now seriously, at this point in time, Audi was on a roll. They were flying cars off the shelves faster than they could ever imagine, so much so that they also wanted to be ahead of the electric car game. Yes, that's right, the Audi R8 in 2014 and 2015 was experimenting with electric motors. Now unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at this was never seen through, as we obviously don't have an electric Audi R8 today. But we'll get back to that at the end of the video. In 2016, Audi was doing so well that they decided to do a complete refresh of the Audi R8. While still keeping the parts that people loved most about the Audi, they changed many aspects to make it much more powerful and much more desirable for the modern times. This new Audi started at 540 horsepower, much more horsepower than the highest trim of the previous R8. And on top of that, if you shelled out a little more cash to get the R8 V10 Plus, you're looking at over 610 horsepower. Definitely fit to be a supercar, if you had any doubts before. And almost every single year after 2016, Audi has been updating the R8 to keep it up with the times. But unfortunately, even though Audi was selling cars much better than they expected, and everything was well as far as sales went, the hype for the original R8 was gone. And in my opinion, there was nothing that Audi could have done to prevent that from happening. The R8 served its purpose. It was a halo car for Audi to bring back the name to its original glory. And if anything, I believe that the R8 kept its hype for much longer than expected. which just goes to prove how awesome this car truly was. But especially coming into 2020, Audi realized they need to give the Audi R8 a new meaning. Remember what I said about that previous attempt at an electric R8? Well, let's just hope you like electric cars, because Audi practically confirmed in a recent press release that the 2022 Audi R8 is going to be all electric. If this follows through, the R8 is looking at a rebirth in hype and popularity, which is something the R8 desperately needs now. But why did you click on this video? You didn't click on this video to get a history and future of the Audi R8. You're here to see why the R8 is the ultimate beginner supercar. So let's start with the reason I always like to start with, the cost. If you want to get an automatic 2008 R8, you're looking at $50,000. If you want to get a brand new 2020 Audi R8 with V10 Plus and everything spec'd out, you're looking at over $200,000. This means that there's an R8 for everyone, and there's price ranges for everything in between. Do you want a manual V8? You're looking at $80,000. Do you want a manual V10? Maybe just over $100,000. And if you're looking at the refreshed models in 2016 plus, you can get used ones for around $160K, with obviously the newer ones being $200,000 and above. If you want a cheap supercar but don't like the looks of a GTR, get an R8. If you can't afford a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, get an R8. As you can see, there's a common trend here. The R8 is almost a perfect alternative to any other supercar due to its amazing cost. Now, looking beyond the R8's cost, let's take a look at its reliability. Now, I understand that this isn't a Honda or a Toyota, but it still is much more reliable than its competitors. This is because Audi is used to designing cars that go hundreds of thousands of miles, while car manufacturers like Lamborghini or Ferrari only expect their cars to be driven 20, maybe 30,000 miles, so they build their cars with that in mind. Don't believe me? Take a look at this R8 posted on AutoTrader with over 77,000 miles. This car is described as a perfect daily driver supercar with little to no issues in the description. I could talk about the R8 for hours and say how it's aged beautifully or how it has amazing driving or great handling, but I think now is a good time to stop. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you do, and I'll see you next time on Car Topic.